Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another video. Today we're going to talk about the OSI layer model. And when you're in IT, you probably heard about this before. When you're not in IT or you just recently came into the field of information security, then you might learn something. I'm not saying that I know it all, but this is very important to distinguish certain layers in IT. So let's start at one, at the physical layer. And you see there are two network cables. So you have various connectors, various types of cable, fiber cable, copper cable, those kind of things. So that's really the physical way of transporting data, how you transport something from A to B. Then you have the data link. You see Ethernet, you see various standards, the 802.11 MAC addresses, fiber channels. A MAC address is a hardware address. You have a router address. A MAC address can be either in the router, it can be in your laptop if you have a Wi-Fi, it can be when you have just the cable itself. Each individual network device has a MAC address and it's a unique address. So you have an IP, of course, but that's network level, not the data link. MAC is under there, and that's hardware level and hardware address. So layer 3 is the network level. You see IP, ARP, IPsec, and those kind of things. So then you have established the connection between two devices, and then with the IP, the Internet Protocol, you can determine some routing or a path. So you have two computers and there are two switches in between, or three switches, and then the network level decides how to route from A to B using the most fast path, basically. Then when the connection is established on the network, you have the transport, and that's an end-to-end connection. When it's established over the network level, then you go to the transport level, and this is the level where you actually start sending data. So TCP is what we use for the internet. For HTTPS connections, it needs to be TCP. Transport Control Protocol, out of the top of my head. And UDP is more like a waterfall. TCP is when you send data packets between A to B, then it's checked if what's sent is received on the other end, making it a very stable and reliable connection. And we have UDP, for instance, when you play a video game on the internet and you connect to the server basically, and you're sending your location where you are on the map. Usually that's a UDP connection, because you have, it's like a waterfall, and sometimes when you see lag because your internet speed is not fast enough, this has to do with UDP. There's less overhead on this protocol because not every packet has to be checked, and this makes the how you say, the connection faster but less reliable, if that makes any sense to you. So that's the transport layer, and you have those various protocols, like SSL is a secure socket layer for secure encrypted connections. So either HTTPS for the internet, or SFTP for file transfers, but in a secure way. So you add some encryption on that level as well, on the transport level. All right, so that's the transport, and then when there is actual communication, that's a session. A session has been opened between location A and B, and this can still be established with TCP or any other protocol. But that's when the connection is established, there's a session going on. And then you have the presentation level. So that is basically when the session opened and the data is actually flowing. This can be an HTML format or a doc format or JPEG, MP3. Those are all different kind of formats of the actual piece of data. HTML, of course, being web pages. Doc is Word documents. JPEG are images. MP3 is audio. AVI is movies. So the various formats of data, and when it's being represented on your screen is the presentation, but the presentation is in the application, and that's layer 7. So that's actually where you see the Google page here, and you have a user that's sitting next to a computer. So over all these layers, from physical to data link to network, transport, session, presentation, is what you eventually get served as a user on your computer. So I hope that makes sense. Might not be 100% accurate what I'm saying here, but this is how I interpret it. So you see, most of it is on the network, and so data link 2, 3, 4, and even 5, because that's a session, but then already two computers are open and talking to each other, so there's more going on than the network itself. It's already a session between the client and the server, basically. And then when the session is established, when you establish, okay, there's a computer on the other side and he's responding to my request, then you can actually start sending the data on the presentation level 6, and then it can be represented because the information is coming in, and then on the application level 7, it's being sent to you as a graphical appearance. It will be presented to you as a user. So when you hear about level or layer 7 firewalls, for instance, you know now that it's an application firewall. I hope that makes sense to you. If you have any additional questions, I hope I can answer, and I wish you a nice day.